I really appreciate that you guys did that, and you have my sincere gratitude. I'd also like to quickly state that this is a message for the far left first, and then we'll get into what I highly disagree with you about. But I just read Hassan Piker's New York Times article where he claims that he did not stifle free speech in his chat. I do not believe that's true because I was banned multiple times for having a simple disagreement with him. That is one thing on the right that you guys do far better, is not creating echo chambers, and this is a complete amazing thing that you guys are doing right now. And I just want to let you know, right now, Hassan Piker, I will donate $5,000 to Palestine if you debate me. Now, and I 100% mean that, and I will make sure that that is as public as possible. My question for you, Charlie, is I just want to make it clear, I am against affirmative action. Of course, I do not believe, as a disabled person myself, I do not believe that affirmative action is the entirety of what DEI entails. That being said, I would be fine with DEI gotten rid of if it meant like a true meritocracy in the United States. But why would I trust Donald Trump to create a meritocracy when he himself has appointed the least accomplished and the least, essentially, yeah, perfect word, the least accomplished cabinet in U.S. history, at least in my opinion. If you disagree, I can explain why I feel that way.
Well, first of all, one thing doesn't have to do with the other, but I'm going to reject the premise that it's the least qualified cabinet ever, so we could talk about that. But even if it was just Donald Trump picking his family members, it has nothing to do with the merits of DEI or getting rid of DEI, right? So that's a red herring. They actually have nothing one to do with the other. One's a repeal of a policy. One is your critique of a cabinet. So which one would you rather debate? Would you rather debate DEI and all of its implications or Trump's cabinet? It seems like you have more problems with Trump's cabinet because we actually might be on the same side of meritocracy. So want to talk about the cabinet? Whichever you prefer.
Yeah, we can talk about that. Right. I personally don't see it as a red herring, but we can talk about that.
Well,
sure.
yeah, one doesn't have anything to do with the other, right? I mean, you can personally have hypocrisy in your own life and still do really good things in policy, right? It doesn't necessarily equate, right?
Well, I mean, in the way that I see it is that when a lot of people talk about, like when they're talking about their choice to vote for Kamala or Trump instead of Kamala, they talk about the personal aspects of Donald Trump that make them want to trust him, right? A lot of people trust him. You can see the way that people look. I mean, everybody's wearing the MAGA hats. People trust him. Why would I trust him?
Okay. So, yeah, that is your contention. So, yeah. What about his cabinet is unqualified? Let me just ask you a couple examples. So, I mean, Scott Bessent, who's one of the most accomplished bond salesmen and individuals in the hedge fund space ever, right? That's not unqualified. Pete Hegseth, who's actually a frontline warfighter, unlike Lloyd Austin, who never fought a war in his life, right? We have Kristi Noem, who was an accomplished congresswoman and governor from a major state running Department of Homeland Security. You have Howard Lutnick, who's a very famous and well-known financial mind and titan from Wall Street running Cantor Fitzgerald. Marco Rubio, who was a very well-respected U.S. Senator on Foreign Affairs, who's now doing a great job as Secretary of State. So build out your argument why you think this cabinet is unqualified. Seems to me very, very qualified, actually, across the board.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start with, I mean, this is the most obvious one, and I have many other examples that I'd like to get into, but Pete Hegseth, you mentioned, I think that is kind of, I don't really understand why you would mention somebody that leaked war chats to a liberal journalist. To me, that doesn't seem like the kind of person that I would want to be.
Well, hold on, time out. He did not leak it. First of all,
he added the person.
The person who actually is responsible was just removed as national security advisor today.
Oh, you mean the person who was the fall guy for Pete Hegseth's problem?
No, he added somebody without his knowledge, but fine.
Okay, so why wouldn't he see him? Why wouldn't he see the person who's in the chat before talking about war policy?
So, time out. Just so we're clear, I'm sure you've been added to group chats with 30 or 40 people sometimes, and you enter in with trust that every acronym is actually a government official. Obviously, that will not happen again. Just so we're clear, Signal was an approved chat by the Biden administration. It's an approved secure channel by
I'm not talking shit on Signal.
However, time out. Let me ask a question about Pete Hegseth. Would you rather have a warfighter or a bureaucrat run the United States military?
I would rather have somebody that doesn't have a history of alcoholism. I'd rather have somebody that I mean, realistically.
Wow. So do you think how about Mark Milley and Lloyd Austin, were they better at running the U.S. military than Pete Hegseth?
I mean, I think you're going to probably start talking about how there's higher enlistment numbers.
Yeah, not only that. So recruitment in the military is up majorly. Thank you, Pete Hegseth. He's doing a pretty good job. Number 2, procurement. We're saving money. Estimates are that we'll save hundreds of billions of dollars in efficiency. War games are up. The amount of war games we're doing in the Southeast Pacific has increased by 30%. This is a military town here in San Diego. They have a massive increase in people wanting to join the Navy, wanting to join the military. That wasn't happening under Biden. Morale is actually 30 points higher now that Pete Hegseth, a warfighter's warfighter, is running the U.S. military.
We have a complete difference. We're never going to agree on this.
No, but not agree, but then prove the evidence. What is one number that is worse with the U.S. military now that Pete Hegseth's in control?
The numbers that you're talking about are numbers that I actually actively do not care about, because I think that we have an overly powerful military, and I think too much of our money goes to the military.
No, I know, but tell me one thing he's done, numerically, empirically, judge his performance, right? What is one thing that you could say, wow, the Pentagon is in a worst place because of Pete Hegseth?
I would say his inconsistent foreign policy, where he backs on statements depending on whether or not Donald Trump has heard them or not. Like in the beginning, we were talking about what happened with Ukraine and Russia. Like they've had disagreements already within the first couple months of the administration.
What? But first of all, the president is the commander-in-chief, so he executes the running of the military.
I'm just saying that
he's the operationals manager, right?
I understand that.
And so when you want a military, you have recruitment going up, you have war games going up, you have morale going up. You have, by the way, how about this? Do you agree that physical fitness standards for men and women should be the same in the U.S. military?
Yes.
Pete Hegseth is to thank for that. He has brought physical fitness standards to be the same for men and women. Lloyd Austin didn't do that. Mark Milley didn't do that. Do you also agree that we should not have transgender pronoun type policing of our military members on the front lines of combat?
See, the thing is
Pete Hegseth has gotten rid of all that, but I'm saying you're trying to make a contention that he's not qualified. Okay. The military is in a much better place thanks to him only after 100 days, man. And that's that is the weakest example of all the ones that you have in the cabinet. You didn't address Rubio, you didn't address Noem, you didn't address Bessent, you didn't address Lutnick, you didn't address Bobby Kennedy, you didn't address all these people. So I have to ask you a question.
I can continue addressing people.
But every one of these departments is in a substantially and an empirically better place than it was.
Okay, including the Department of Education that's been completely defunded, and somebody who literally
I'm so glad it's being defunded.
Okay, I bet you are, but guess what? Most Americans aren't, and that's the reality.
Wrong. Donald Trump.
Okay, yeah, just because you have a bunch of people here saying that doesn't mean that's the reality.
Let me prove it to you. Donald Trump ran on a pledge to get rid of the Department of Education. We can agree with that?
No,
yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. He won a popular vote. The vast majority of people voted knowing that the Department of Education was going to get eliminated.
If you truly believe that the vast majority of people were educated enough about the fact of Donald Trump's opinion
voters
on the
aren't very smart. Now that's what we're going after.
No, I'm simply just responding to what you said. What you said
insult
is
the voters. They don't know.
No, I know a lot of people that voted for Trump who had absolutely no idea that he was going to defund the. And of course, this is just an anecdote, but I know that this is the truth. Not everybody, when they vote, looks at every single little thing and every little aspect, like you and I might, of why we would vote for somebody. We're both political commentators.
Right. Fine. And as a political commentator, then I will argue more forcefully against you, because now you're not just like a college kid searching for this. Has education in America improved or gotten worse since the Department of Education was formed?
It has literally been 3 months. I have absolutely no idea.
Since the Department of Education was formed in the 70s. We now have 50 years of evidence. Has American education gotten better since we've had a Department of Education, or has it gotten worse?
I personally don't think that has to do with the Department of Education.
Well, when you've spent over $4.5 trillion with one federal department, and we have 30 schools in Chicago where a fifth grader cannot read at grade level. We have 35 schools in Baltimore where kids cannot do math or reading at grade level. We cannot find a single school, not a single school in downtown Detroit, where by the time they graduate high school in the heavily black areas, that they're proficient in reading or math. We are now 31st in the industrialized world of education. We spend more in education than almost any other country per capita, and yet our results are worse. Maybe it's because we sent all this money to D.C. to overly centralize the way we educate, and the Department of Education has been a complete disaster. And so we can go anywhere you want with this discussion.
I'm just going to say one more thing about this, and we can move on. And thank you for talking to me for this long. I really appreciate it. But you're talking about people that are coming from poor backgrounds where education in their families is not a part of the way that they're raised. Of course, they're going to be the ones that have a lower.
No, that's not correct. You
I highly doubt it.
The competing Catholic schools in the same area that do it for 2/3 less money. Almost all the kids can read by the time they graduate middle school.
And where does that money come from?
Well, sometimes from charter schools, taxpayers, or from private donors. So take, for example, in downtown Chicago or downtown Philadelphia, the private Catholic school can educate a kid for around $12,000 a year. Philadelphia, it's about $30,000 a year, and none of the kids can read. So the local religious schools, they have kids that are less likely to be unruly, less likely to commit crimes. They're more likely to graduate high school and college. They can read and they could do math. And yet the local public school spends triple what the local Catholic school does, and they can't do any of that stuff. Why? Because a government-run program of education has been a failure in this country, and that's what President Trump is doing by abolishing the Department of Education.
Okay, so how, if there's no public, I'm not saying that the public education system is perfect. I'm saying that having I think the privatization of public things in general is bad, and obviously that's a very...
Why would you say that? So, I mean that's just... we can go through the list of that, but...
Because getting rid of, for example, DEI or getting rid of... And again, I'm not super pro-DEI or anything.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in California. I'll put it that way.
I'll try to apply it to yours. So, where?
Okay, I grew up in one of the most expensive towns in California.
Okay, Montecito? I don't know, I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, something like that. I don't want to talk because of a political commentary. I'm not saying my name, but I will tell you that seeing that we had three 82-inch TVs in my school for a public school when other kids in Compton had absolutely nothing, and I know a big part of that is because...
why is that? It's property taxes, right? And so, yes, however, let's just get down to the core of it, which is that in San Diego, are the private schools or the public schools more desirable?
It's kind of complicated because we have charter schools that are public, we have like High Tech High. We have
people pay money to go to private school, right? For a reason. So what is our perspective? The money should follow the child. You should have school choice. You should be able to go to whatever the school of your choosing, and it works super well.
But the good private schools that you talk about these ones in Chicago with cherry-picked data. When we're talking about San Diego, they cost about $40,000 a year.
It's not cherry-picked data.
It is cherry-picked data. Talking about a single example of a Catholic school that's publicly funded or funded by donors.
There's hundreds of these examples.
Okay,
right?
Hundreds of these examples, but the reality is that the majority of them, you have to pay an exorbitant amount of money in order to get into them.
Right. So then what per capita, per pupil in San Diego, what do you think they charge per student in the public school? Anywhere between $25,000 to $35,000.
I have no idea, and I don't think that it has anything to do with the debate we're having.
No, it has everything to do with it. And I'll just close with this. So there's 21 million people that work for the government in this country, 11 million in education. 11 million in education. How many of the 11 million do you think are teachers?
I see, you're just coming up... Look,
it's super.
Can you repeat your question? Because I thought we were going to continue because we barely talked about anything I want to talk about.
Well, no, I mean we did freewheeling. That's what this is, right? So there's 11 million people that work in education in America. How many would you guess are teachers?
I'm assuming that it's very bloated, and I'm just going to guess that 2 million are teachers.
Yeah, it's about 2 to 3. It's like 3.5 to 4 million. So that means that 7 million people that work in education are unnecessary administrators and paper pushers. And why is that important? Because we've not been funding teachers or education the last 30 years. We've been funding unnecessarily bureaucracy in our education the last 30 or 40 years. And President Trump goes to abolish it. Thank you for your time. I got to get to the next question. Thank you. Hello.
Hi. My name's Ellie. Overall, just to go into my question, I am conservative. So going into this, I was like, what should I ask you about? I think overall, I was going through different policies, and in general, I agree. Ultimately, I think the topic of my question is how to approach politics in school and in general with this function. I've found that a lot of times, when I talk to people who are on the other side of me, they are surprised to find out what I think, and my ideas are not that crazy. It's like when you actually get into the meat of it, it's like, oh, actually, maybe it does make sense. And so I think it's really valuable to start giving these ideas to the world. And so this is one of these options. But I guess my question is this the best way? Because when I hear, for example, on Reddit, they're like, don't approach him, don't do this, he's just doing that, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's using all these tactics. And so I wonder if you've considered, not to say that this is a bad way to go about it, but if there's maybe a slightly better way, because I think what you're saying has a lot of value in this world, but it's in this school specifically, it is thought of as evil and as not a valid way to think.
That's a UC San Diego problem, not a Charlie Kirk problem, right?
No, and it's not, and it's not to say it's a problem of you. No.
And I meaning like and I read there was some op-ed journalist where they said ignore Charlie, ignore him. Well, what they're saying is that they are not either smart enough or they're not intellectually mature enough to have a discussion with a conservative on any issue. I have literally almost no notes. I have like a couple charts to show you if the topics come up. You guys can use AI, you guys can use Grok, you could do whatever you want. You could bring a professor, you could bring 5 of your top libs together, debate me, right?
Yeah.
Other side? Okay, thank you. And you guys can debate me at any time. I fail to understand why, well actually I know the reason. Speech is not a left-wing value. And they do not believe in freedom of speech, they believe in totalitarian control. There are exceptions to that. So if they have a problem, I think this is one of the best ways, not the best way. I literally could not be more open to disagreement. I say if you disagree, you go to the front of the line.
Yeah.
And I mean, how often do you as conservatives get a chance to challenge liberals on campus, right? And being welcomed, ever?
Oh, absolutely almost never. Definitely
because
not in class.
speech is not a left-wing value.
No, but to say that, I mean, with all of that being said, it is very true. But ultimately, what happens here is I see a lot of, like, the ideas just being like bubbled against, and so like when I talk to my friends, their ideas aren't changed from these conversations, and so I wonder if there's just like a.
You would be surprised. I'm sorry to interrupt. Mm-hmm. What happens here gets seen hundreds of millions of times on social media.
Absolutely, yes.
The crowds are growing, and so look, some people are going to remain closed-minded. They're not going to, have their horizons open, but that's on them, right? They have to actually want to pursue the truth and not just have their own worldview confirmed.
And then I guess that's where I disagree, because I think fundamentally there is truth within anything, and I believe that maybe I would ask you like to see that like you have a big role in this. You have a big fan base and a big media base that you are making incredible change, and to take it just one step further would be really trying to push the narrative against this being like a place where people are just like debating. It's more than that.
What would you like to see?
I guess maybe it's more of a question. I guess, I don't know, moving forward, like trying to maybe to see that like instead of using these really fast tactics and to really like try to bring it down, not to say someone is, not to say that they're, no.
I disagree with all that. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you're thinking way too much about libs on Reddit. I care about normal people, so.
No,
yeah.
I
mean, you did bring up Reddit. I'm sorry. You're like.
No, I guess that's true. No, and I guess
so
maybe
these people are not well socially adjusted, right? I talk to the 90% of the American people that actually want to make something of their life and have kids and.
No, and I couldn't agree more with that like stance. I guess maybe stepping away from Reddit, it's to me the people on this campus. This is a school I go to, and almost everyone I'm surrounded with has a completely different view from me, and
not everybody.
No, and this is like, but this like the people here, to find them, it feels like you're like sifting through a needle in a haystack.
You want a hat?
Sure.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Disagreements, come to the front of the line. Yes.
So I have a couple points that I want to talk about in illegal immigration. Is it okay if I say all of them with no interruption? Okay, cool. So first, illegal immigrants power our economy. They're 50% of U.S. farm workers, harvesting the food on our tables, and fill 70% of construction jobs in states like Texas. They pay $13 billion annually in taxes, including $2 billion to Social Security that they can't claim. Deporting them would slash agricultural output by $60 billion and raise food prices by 6%. Why gut our farms and wallets when these workers fuel our prosperity? That's my first point. Second point, they strengthen our communities with lower crime rates. So in Texas, undocumented immigrants have a 26% lower homicide conviction rates. Which is 2.2 per 100,000 versus 3 for native-born citizens. Nationally, immigrants are incarcerated at half the rate of native-born, where it's 0.85% versus 1.71%. That's according to Bureau of Justice Statistics from 2019. So if safety is your goal, why deport people who make our streets safer? This is my third point. Mass deportation tears apart American families. Over 4.4 million U.S. citizens children have an undocumented parent, and in Texas, 1 in 7 kids lives in a mixed status household. Okay, this is my 4th point. Deportation is a fiscal nightmare. Removing 11 million people would cost 315 to 400 billion. More than the entire Homeland Security budget, and shrink our GDP by 1.7 trillion over 10 years. And this is my last point. Our immigration system is broken, pushing people to cross illegally. Visa waits Mexicans can exceed 20 years, and the asylum blockage is 1.3 million cases, with hearings 4 to 6 years out. Okay.
You done?
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
All right, so without looking at the phone, look at me. What
Sure.
should the penalty be for breaking into America?
I think there should be a system where it's more merit-based. So if this person...
No, penalty. So what is the penalty? So what should happen to you?
Felony. It's not a felony, it's a misdemeanor.
No, it is. That's not true. It's 8 U.S.C. 1312. You can look it up right now.
It's a felony if it's done twice. If
No,
you try to cross
it's
the
not
border,
correct.
that is correct.
That is not correct.
I Googled it, dude.
To illegally go across the southern border with the well intent to come into harbor yourself into the interior of the United States is a violation of 8 U.S.C. 1312, which is a felony in the federal criminal code. Now, it can be enforced as a misdemeanor, or it can be upwards to 5 years in prison.
Okay.
Now, I want to know, since it's a felony, law in the
Sure.
books, 8 U.S.C. 1312, what should the penalty be?
Well, in my opinion, these kinds of laws are usually they're what do you call it? They're sorry. Usually the sorry. Wait, sorry. Can I check my phone real quick? I apologize. Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
What should the penalty be for someone that breaks or comes into America illegally? What should the penalty be?
I think there should be a merit system where the people... Okay, the penalty... All right, let's...
That's
the penalty.
not the answer. It's a very simple moral and legal question.
Okay,
what
sure.
should the penalty be if you come into America illegally?
Okay, so since it's a misdemeanor, not a felony, misdemeanors
I
are...
just told you it's not 8. You can look up on your chat GPT what is 8 USC. Look up what is 8 USC 1312.
No, I know. I've already looked it up.
Yes,
when it's your second time crossing the border illegally, then it becomes a felony.
It can be, and it is enforced as a felony, and it usually is done as a misdemeanor citation because no one has the stones to do 20 million felony applications.
Okay.
So I just want to ask,
Yeah.
what should the penalty be then for someone that comes into this country illegally?
Usually there's 3 ways that go about this when there's a penalty. There's either like a fine, or there's some kind of public service that this person does, or you send them back.
Send them back. I agree. That's what we should do.
Okay. So this is interesting. So one of the statistics that I read said that illegal immigrants don't cause as much they don't break the law as often as people who are native born.
Well, hold on, time out.
That is a statistic.
But
time out.
But
dude.
every single one of them are criminals. They're all criminals.
Okay, sure. By law.
Well, hold
by
on.
law.
No.
By law. Of course they are.
Wait, so if they commit less crime and they're all criminals, wait a second.
So
by
you're
definition, they all have broken the law by being here, and they break the law every day by staying here because you're actually not allowed to stay here either. Do you know that? So every day you're here, you're actually continually breaking the law. You can't break in or harbor. That's what the federal law says.
Okay.
So by breaking in, it's not just the only law they broke. Every second you remain here, you're also breaking the law. So that statistic is invalidated by just them breathing here. They're breaking the law.
No, of course not. Of course not. So of course it makes sense for them when they're here. They're breaking the law because they're illegal immigrants, obviously. But once they're of course. So once they are here, what kind of harm are they actually doing? When you look at the numbers statistically,
a lot.
No, that's not true. Okay,
Black wages have gone down.
Okay, in Texas,
DUIs have gone up dramatically.
Try not to interrupt, bro.
Well,
okay,
hold on. I'm interjecting, and I let you go uninterrupted with your whole soliloquy,
true,
right?
Yeah, thank you.
So let me ask you a question now.
Okay.
So, if it is correct
Yeah.
that illegal aliens commit less crimes, which of course it's not correct.
That is correct. Look it up. In Texas, they made a study in 2019. 26% are lower.
Is any crime? It's just not correct. But I'm not going to debate that. I just proved it at its face because they commit a crime by being here every day. That is a crime.
Okay, once they are here, what kind of crimes are they committing? Which is
okay. Well,
they're 26%.
Okay. Do you know the name Laken Riley?
No, educate me.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Do you know? Wow. Do you know the name Rachel Morin?
No, I don't.
Wow.
Wait, educate me. What
So
kind of...
Laken Riley was a girl at the University of Georgia.
Okay.
There was a peeping Tommy, a legal alien, that was deported 5 times prior, and Biden kept on letting him back in. He hunted her down, raped her, sodomized her, and murdered her on a hiking trail, University of Georgia.
Okay,
Rachel,
so one person doesn't represent all illegal immigrants.
Every person who is killed by an illegal alien is one that should not happen. Every single one.
Of course, and also the ones that are native born.
Everyone. And so that's the point, is that it's not a matter of the rate. The rate, even if I accept your premise, which is incorrect, the rate is irrelevant. The number is what's relevant. There should be 0 illegal aliens. There should be 0 Americans being killed by illegals.
So,
Not to mention there's 6 other problems with the illegal aliens. They steal Social Security numbers. They depress wages. They are heavily involved.
True.
By the way, not to mention, a lot of people that cross on the southern border are also smuggling girls, weapons, and drugs alongside the southern border when they come. It's the largest slavery operation in American history that many illegal aliens help make possible on the southern border. And I guess the final question I'll have is, should a government serve its citizens first and foremost?
Yeah, of course. Well, okay, there's been many people who are like very political leaders who have said that this place is built off of immigrants.
Oh, is it? Wait, hold on. Let's think about that.
Sure.
First of all, it's legal, not illegal. But was America founded by immigrants or settlers?
Settlers.
That's not an immigrant.
Yeah. Okay.
An
Well, that's not
immigrant
my
is-
point. My point is that
just
people
brought
who-
up the nation built by immigrants.
Yeah,
We're
because
actually not.
because the political leaders have said that this place is built.
Yeah, and they're
from
wrong.
They're wrong. Political
yes.
leaders are wrong. George
Yes.
W. Bush is wrong. All these political leaders who have built
yes.
America.
By the way, the
wrong.
first person to say that was
How is that wrong? When illegal
Hold on, 'cause
immigrants make, they grow the economy.
Okay,
Statistically,
allow me
studies.
Allow me to build it out for you.
Sure.
Immigrants have helped at times in American history, but we are first and foremost a nation founded by settlers. Immigrants come to a country already built. Settlers come to a barren place and build something new.
Right.
This land was barren when people came. In the 1840s gold rush, this was not an easy place to live.
Yeah.
California was not exactly industrialized. There was not immigrants coming west to California. Those were settlers building a new place around, Western values. Finally, I would just ask the question, do you see a moral distinction between a legal immigrant and an illegal immigrant?
Well, the argument is that they're cutting in line. Like their argument is that they're cutting in line in the 20-year process that it would take for someone to cross illegally.
It's not 20, but yeah.
At most it's 20. At most it's 20. Right now there's around like 1.2 million people who are currently waiting that would take 6 to 7 years for a hearing.
And by the way, no one has a right to come to this country,
Of
just
course,
to be
wait,
clear.
let me stay on track of what I was going to say. Okay, so people who come here, usually, almost all the time when they come here, they benefit society. They benefit society. There's studies that have done this.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, but overall in general.
But no,
when you look overall
I
in general,
fundamentally disagree with that.
You can't disagree with a fact.
Hold on. Do you think Ilhan Omar has enriched the United States of America?
I don't know who.
Do you think Rashida Tlaib? I mean, I could go through person by person by person.
Sorry, I don't know these people. Are these people who have are illegal immigrants that have caused harm?
Yeah, if you don't know, I don't mean to pick on you. It's fine.
Okay,
but
thanks.
I guess the final question is,
Sure.
do you have any concern that there are too many people coming into this country and we're a nation of strangers, not a nation of neighbors?
If the people who are coming are creating America, making it more growing, like the economy is growing, then what harm is that doing? Especially if the people who are
we're more
coming
than
are
an economy, though, aren't we? We're a culture. We're a language.
Yeah,
we're
of course.
People.
Okay, so let's talk about that front. When they come here, they don't have any kind of. They're not committing as more crimes than the people who are already here.
Again,
that is a statistic
we've already
done.
dispelled that, but
That is not. You can't
in
dispel a
California,
statistic.
Let's
What are you
take California.
talking about?
You can't. Do you think there's anything wrong that a majority of young people in California speak Spanish, not English?
Wait, sorry. Can you say that?
Do you think there's anything wrong or troubling to the fact that a majority of people under the age of 30 here in this state speak Spanish, not English? Is there a problem with that?
Well, yeah. Everyone should be able to have a ability to communicate with the rest of the crowd. So I don't know what the big issue of that.
See, I think it's a huge problem when we have a nation where you can't communicate with your fellow neighbor.
Simple solution. Teach them how to speak English. What is your point?
Yeah, and our schools don't do that, actually. And also, have a better solution.
Yeah.
Don't import a bunch of people that don't speak English.
You mean importing people who actually grow the economy?
Well,
who
again,
don't...
I reject your premise.
That's not a premise. That's a study that's been done.
Do you know what a premise is? I don't actually care as much about economic growth because we're one nation under. We're one nation under GDP. We're not one nation under GDP. We're a nation under God.
Yeah.
And when we lose social cohesion, and you import a bunch of people that don't share our values, that don't necessarily always assimilate, that's a major and serious problem. And we are a people first and foremost with a creed, and that creed is falling apart. Mass migration has not helped that creed. Yes, they might buy more trinkets. They might help depress wages. Mass migration, of course, can help
all good things, all great things for America that needs.
Well, they help major corporations, but you know what they also do? They keep down the wages of working people. If you are a plumber, yes, of course. If you think about it, if you're a plumber, electrician, or a welder, and you have to compete against someone from Nicaragua who's willing to do it for $5 less an hour, that depresses the wages of the American citizen.
Right. Yeah. So there's been studies that have done that also like counteract that. Illegal immigrants.
Well, let's use our reason.
Let's use our reason. Our studies.
Let's use our reason.
How about statistics?
How about our reason? So we've had mass migration for 20 years. Have wages gone up?
I don't know.
No, they haven't actually.
Okay.
So forget your studies. For 10 years we've had 30 million people come into America. Wages have gone down dramatically.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a reason why.
Okay.
So what I encourage you to do, just because there's a study that confirms, you should use your reason and look actually at self-evident truths. Be like, does that make sense? Can you name
statistics are self-evident?
Well,
truths.
not always. Statistics are very misleading. Yes. Like, for example, I could say, did you know that 600 people a year die because of seatbelts? Well, that's a misleading statistic because over 100,000 lives are saved by seatbelts. That's an incomplete statistic.
Wait, okay, so so that's a gray area. So where's the gray area where people are talking about where 26% of illegal immigrants who come here commit less crimes than native born?
Okay, how many times have you been over this? That's just not correct.
Well,
it's
that
not
is
true.
correct. That is correct.
Every single crime. It doesn't matter about the rate.
This is a study that was done in Texas, the most diverse, second most diverse state.
Every crime an illegal commits is one that should never have happened.
Okay.
It is a period.
Yeah, of course,
they should not be here. So I don't care about the rate. The rate is irrelevant. So let me just ask one final question.
The rate is relevant.
Someone broke into the country and cut in line. What should happen to them?
Well, they're given. Ideally, there's a system. Ideally, there's a system that's merit-based, where these people then become part of the citizen. Like they become a legal citizen.
Yeah, I mean, we have clarity but not agreement. I say deport them all back to their country of origin and put Americans first.
That's not an appropriate solution.
The American people voted for it, and it is appropriate.
It isn't appropriate because most of the people that do come here illegally contribute positively to society. Dude. Statistically. Everything backs this.
You're not listening to anything I'm saying, and that's fine. They take jobs from Americans. They depress wages. They steal Social Security numbers. They commit a crime every single day that they're here. They flood our public schools. They flood our social services. They flood our hospitals. They are a burden on the taxpayer. They should go back and make their own country great again and apply and become a legal immigrant if they want to live here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next question, yeah. Hi. Wow, that's aggressive.
All right.
Okay, jeez.
Perfect.
Get that guy a Valium or something. Xanax. Jeez.
We good? All right. Good morning. So I am conservative, but there is one thing that I did want to debate you on. So you say that college is a scam and that so many students go hundreds of thousands in debt and useless degrees. I completely agree with that. My question is, why is it on the institutions and colleges and not on the students, since we as conservatives always focus on personal responsibility? When a quick
That's a great question. Yeah, it should also be on the students as well.
All right. Is there any thing about the universities and the universities should be doing then, since it is a capitalist society and they are trying to get profits?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I don't know what the endowment is here, but I think that the endowment should be used to help repay kids' student loans that they scammed. I think the fact that Harvard is sitting on $55 billion, I think that we should take the endowment money from places like Harvard, Princeton, and Yale and help kids pay off their student loans because they've been so severely scammed by the system.
And what can students do? I mean, there's Google, there's tons of things that I think personal responsibility is a huge issue that a lot of students that I know are blaming it on the universities when they pick degrees that don't have much money or job opportunity or things like that. What should students be doing?
Say that again, sorry.
What should students be doing since it is a personal responsibility? And a lot of students are blaming the universities and colleges for tricking them when a quick Google search would suffice.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, again, that's why I don't think as many people should be going to college.
Yeah,
and so, yeah.
All right, thank you.
I'll sign your hat. Thank you. Yep. All right, disagreements, you guys can come up. Yep. Yes, if you guys disagree, come on to the front. Come on.
Hi, Charlie. Thank you so much for coming here. I think it's really good that you come to campuses and talk to people who disagree with you. I also think it's like a testament, like you've like gotten a really big following, and it's a testament to the fact that capitalism works and merit-based societies work, that we can actually grow our influence. And yeah, so I agree with you with a lot of things, but I do disagree with you with like 2 or 3 particular points. And I hope to like go touch on all of them. Firstly, it's about morality and the fact that your claim that objective morality exists. I disagree with that. I think morality is relative for everyone or subjective, and it kind of like grows as with the culture and as the culture changes. So yeah, what are your thoughts about that, and how do you justify objective morality?
Do you believe in absolute truth?
What do you mean by absolute truth?
Absolute truth, like that there is truth absolute for all people.
Yes.
You do? Okay, that's objective morality.
That's objective facts. I won't say that's morality.
Okay, so do I have permission to ask you a provocative question?
Sure. I know what you're going to ask.
Okay, fine. I mean, was Hitler objectively wrong?
No. So, I do...
Was the Holocaust objectively evil?
I want to like make a distinction between like my personal views that I do feel that it is wrong, but I can't say that it is like objectively wrong because I don't believe that objective morality exists. Like why can I ask you like why do you think objective morality exists, and how do you like ground that objective morality in?
Well, first, of course, we believe that the Lord of the heavens and the earth gave us that objective reality through revelation.
Okay.
But secondly, we believe it's written on the heart of every human. You know, in Nuremberg, it's very interesting. When they did the Nuremberg trials, and the Nazis basically said, well, in our country it was right, therefore it's right. Do you know that in Nuremberg they rejected that? They said, no, every human being knows that killing 6 million, babies and kids is wrong. And so do you think there's anything built into us of a moral compass that prevents us from doing evil and we have to try to stifle it?
I think there are moral intuitions that everyone has, but again, like those moral intuitions can differ from person to person, right? Like I might say that, like I don't know, like doing something is wrong, but like someone else might say, oh, it's fine in this situation. So like, how do you distinguish? Like, so it's obviously subjective, right? Like everyone might have their own opinions on what is right and what is wrong. So how do you how do you make a framework that says that, like, these are the rules of what is right and what is wrong, and like how do you ground
that?
The
more important question is, do you believe in God? Which I guess you do not.
I'm agnostic. Like,
yeah. Okay. So yeah. That's where. Okay. So if you don't believe in this, actually, what's your name? Sorry.
Abhinav.
Yeah. Well, you're making a great argument, and your argument is totally correct, which is that if you don't believe in God, then you cannot say that the Holocaust was wrong. In order to believe that. In order to believe something is objectively wrong, you must believe in God. Because if you believe in God, then you believe that there's a transcendent moral order that is over all of us. And you're proving that point, and it's not even a criticism. You are being consistent.
Okay.
And to your point, which is that, so we believe that there is a God that has rules for life. We believe that was given to Moses primarily at Mount Sinai. Thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery. And that every society and every culture lives under that natural law. And so, but it's very interesting that if we get away from the idea of a belief in God and the transcendent, you can see how dangerous that is for society, right?
I wouldn't say it's dangerous because it really depends on what the morals the society adopts and like what their constitution is, what their values are. I don't know why that needs to be grounded in religion.
Well, so let me ask, okay, so would you say that murder is bad? Yes?
I would say that.
By what standard do you measure bad?
I would say that like it's based on my environment, how I was raised, like what my cultural beliefs are, like how everyone else like morality has influenced my morality. So it's like I believe that it's like, for example, like I think you brought this up in some other debate that like some tribes might like are okay with child sacrifice or cannibalism or things like that, right? So for them that is okay. For me, it's not, right? It really depends on what society we grow up in, I think.
Yeah. So child sacrifice is not something you think that is objectively wrong.
I'm just trying to understand how do I
Let's
ground
pay attention
objective.
up here, guys. Thanks.
How do we ground what is objective? And also, you brought up a point that, like, if you do believe in God, then we do have objective morality, right? And you obviously believe in Christianity. But my point is, like, if, for example, a different religion has different morals, how do you determine which one is objective? Because both will think that it's objective, right? So how do you make that determination?
It's a great question. Well, first you have to look at, sorry, there's just a side show going on here. You have to look at the proof and the fruit of which that moral system has delivered.
Okay.
And so, are you from India? I don't mean to,
yeah,
okay.
I'm from Delhi.
Do you, can I ask you a provocative question? I don't mean to offend you by any way, but
Sure.
do you think that the moral system of India or the moral system of America, which is better?
What do you mean by moral system? Like, can
Caste
you give me
system.
some... Yeah, I disagree with the caste system.
Got it. So you disagree with it, but is there something objectively evil and wrong with saying that 200 million people are permanently in poverty?
Again, I want to ask you, like, how do we ground objectivity? Like, what, like, for example, like for scientific theories, like, we can, like, conduct experiments and say, okay, it's objectively true. But, like, for morality, like, it depends person to, like, for example, people living in India at that time, for them it might have been okay, right? So, like, how do we ground the objectivity? Like,
You have to believe in God. You have to believe in a power, more specifically, a monotheistic one.
Okay, why is that?
Well, because if you have many gods, polytheism, you have many moralities. And if one God, one morality. So that's why ethical monotheism founded America. And so, of course, it's a faith claim in some ways, but we can use science also to get us pretty close to believing in God, from space, time, and matter, from the teleological argument for God, for how all the fine-tuning of our universe exists. But then in order, once you believe in a God, then you can then say there is an objective morality. If you don't believe in God, your position is correct. It's
But,
all just context.
I do disagree with one thing, that, like, because there are multiple religions, right? Multiple monotheistic religions. So how do you determine which monotheistic religion is true?
So, well, why is mine true? Because because the resurrection is the most documented, followed, and proven fact of history. Of all the different things, is that the resurrection of Jesus Christ is by far the most compelling event in human history besides the creation of the world. Is that we know Jesus existed, we know that he was killed, we have extra biblical sources that prove it, from Josephus, from the Talmud, to the historians of the day, and there are so many facts surrounding the resurrection that cannot be explained other than that Jesus actually rose from the dead. From Wayu's female witnesses, we know that he was in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. We know that the tomb was empty. Where did Jesus' body go? For example, if you wanted to disprove Christianity, why didn't they just march through the streets with Jesus' corpse and say, nope, actually he is not risen from the dead. Here he is right now. From all these different elements, we stake all of our chips as Christians into the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Amongst many other things, that the Bible is materially true every time that we do an archaeological discovery in the Middle East. The more that we discover, the more that we search in the Middle East, the more we find out that the Bible is true.
Okay, so your belief is basically based on the truth value of Christianity, basically, right? And, like, the fact that, like, you believe that your religion is true, and therefore that's where you derive your morality from, right?
Partially, yes,
Okay.
but even before that, you don't have to believe in the resurrection to believe in God.
Okay.
You can believe in God and not believe in the resurrection.
So
but
if
you
I-
asked me why I believe in Christianity.
So, for example, there are a lot of arguments, for example, the cosmological argument or teleological argument that you mentioned, which do not really, do not refer to, like, a particular God, right? It just refers to God in general.
Correct.
So
And-
how do you derive morality from just the existence of God without associating it with a particular religion?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So you can use reason that if there is a God, then God would want us to live a certain way. And which way is best, which way is most efficacious. This is not my argument for it, but this would be a more deistic morality
Okay.
that some of the founding fathers had, that if there is a God, well, then he probably wouldn't want us to screw up this place too much. He wouldn't want us to hurt each other, right? You can use your reason to get to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's not a perfect fit. The Christian answer is a far better one, right? And a lot of what we consider to be correct moral thinking is rooted from a belief in objective morality.
That's fine, but, like, then you would have to contend with things like the problem of evil, right? Because that would be like a problem, right? Because, like, for example, the Christian theistic, like, the God is, like, all good, right? But
Yes, but sorry to interrupt, but atheists have a problem of evil too. Do you know what the problem of evil
What
is
is
for the
that?
atheists? They can't tell us what evil is.
That is
Right?
true. Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
So we have a problem of evil, which is to explain evil. We struggle with that. Atheists have a problem with evil, which is they can't tell us what is evil or good.
But that's because they don't believe in objective.
Exactly. So, but that's a bigger problem. So they can't even use the problem of evil against us because by what definition do they consider something evil? They can use a problem of suffering
Yeah.
because suffering is objectively measured, right? Pain or struggle. So yeah, I mean, look, the problem of evil, I don't have a great answer. I'm not going to give an answer that no one's ever given. Evil, actually, you could argue, is an absence of a good thing. Evil itself does not necessarily exist. It's just the absence of good, the same way that dark is the absence of life. But look, we as Christians, we have a couple things that are very hard to answer, right? Problem of evil and why kids die. I mean, amongst many other things, right? Atheists have to explain everything else. They have to explain why we're here, how the earth was created, love, mercy, justice, forgiveness, everlasting life. And so we do have an answer in the Christian faith that God uses all things for good for those who loves him. God works in mysterious ways is the old thing that we say. But also we also believe in original sin. But all of that actually appeals that there is a transcendent good. Evil itself does not disprove God. It might question what you think of God and the nature of God, but itself does not necessarily disprove it.
Okay, thank you. I did have one more point.
Yeah, and then we'll get to the next question. Very good though.
Very quickly, you mentioned that the previous person also talked about. You believe that university is a scam, right? I just wanted to ask you specifically what aspects do you think are a scam? Do you think all majors are a scam? All universities are a scam?
Not necessarily, but I mean half the kids in this audience, if they get a job, they'll end up getting a job that does not require a college degree. So and I mean, you think about that. I mean, by the way, the national graduation rate's only 59%. 41% of people that enter college do not graduate. So
I do agree with you that the tuition part of it can nowadays on the internet you can find almost any information. Yep. I do believe that the utility of universities is the networking that you can do with peers as well as industry professionals and also the resources that universities provide, especially for the STEM subjects. And I wanted to ask you, since you...
Really quick, yep.
Yeah, last question.
Last question.
I wanted to ask you, since you did not, go to university and, you built this entire big organization yourself, how did you tackle those networking challenges and, how did you, step by step build up to this?
Phenomenal question. You find somebody you want to go meet and you go find them. You don't need to go to